Matt Porter of Matt Porter Web Design on the show, and this is about Matt electric vehicles. You've been off to London to test one of the latest ones.
Yes, I was invited to London earlier in the week to take part in the Hyundai Drive Different test. So basically to show me how my driving would be different depending on the type of car I was driving.
And that's what they're suggesting, is it, that we drive differently in an electric vehicle?
Yes, and it seems to be the results that I had sent through to me seem to kind of prove that.
Wow.
It was kind of what they were very clever because they gave me effectively two similar cars. They were the same model of car. I think they were Kona. One was the petrol and one was the electric.
Yeah.
And I drove round a route around Finsbury Park in London, or not actually Finsbury Park, around the streets at Highgate and things like that. It was, as you can imagine, driving in London, not massively fast. It was, I think I averaged about 13 miles an hour during my tests.
Yeah.
But the car itself had a computer inside it that had been retrofitted with a computer, with a couple of cameras. I had a heart rate monitor on, the pressurized steering wheel, pressure sensitive steering wheel, sorry. And also I had someone with me who was making copious notes as well. And we drove around, and it showed my heart rate afterwards, what my heart rate was like. And you can imagine, again, driving around London, you've got traffic pulling out on you, mopeds hurtling towards you at speed, buses pulling out, all of those sort of things were happening, and roads were closed. I think they were filming something around the corner with David Tennant, and a load of the roads were closed, so we had to do a few three-point turns as well. So It's very interesting. And it was filmed, so it shows they had like eye tracking and facial tracking and things like that, so they could see how alert I was.
Oh my goodness, they've really gone to town on this, haven't they? Yeah. Yes,
it was a fairly detailed test, really, and they sent me video as well showing me. You can imagine, though, if you're driving an electric car or an automatic car, you're not having to put your hands on the gear stick all the time. So I was driving a manual car, and especially in busy traffic, you're forever stopping, starting, putting the car in neutral, changing gear. Obviously, you're not having to do that on an automatic or electric car because there are no gears. It's one gear.
Yeah.
So your hands are generally both hands are generally on the wheel the whole time, rather than having to take them off to change gear and all of those kind of things.
Gear. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm intrigued by the test results. What did they show, Matt?
Well, they showed me that I am what did they say? They said that others could learn a thing or two from you, you measured motorist. My wife would be happy to hear this.
Yeah.
You view driving as purely functional and keep a relaxed attitude throughout. You're just getting from place to place, so why get riled up? Warm and sensitive to other drivers, you process stress well and drive calmly. You follow the speed limit, and while confident with your driving, do not manoeuvre aggressively. Kumbayas all round.
Oh, my goodness. Well done. Did it show any difference, though, between the petrol and the electric?
Yes, it did. It showed, actually, interestingly, it showed my awareness was the same for electric. My ability was higher for the petrol car, and that may be because I was having to do more to operate it.
Right.
Confidence was much higher on the electric car. Efficiency, the fuel efficiency, without doubt, was obviously massively higher on the electric car because you're not burning fossil fuel.
Yeah.
And my calmness, actually, I was slightly less calm in the electric car, and I can tell you why, because a moped came hurtling towards me during that part of the test, and I had to take a bit of an evasive action, but I didn't panic. So it's about half an hour, 25 minutes, and they said that with regard to the eco-driving profile, the past is in your rearview mirror and you're ready to accelerate into 2040. So, of course, this is all about the move towards 2040 with the electrification of cars and the removal, if you like, of diesel and petrol. As more electric cars hit the road, you're more than ready to meet the challenge and drive clean, with particular penchant for eco-mobility vehicles. You're confident, very efficient, and there's a marked improvement in your ability when you drive an alternative fuel vehicle.
They're very well spoken in English for South Koreans, aren't they?
Do you know what, though? I did say to them whilst I was driving that there is this, when you're driving an electric car, especially in that kind of traffic, it's very, very quiet. It's very serene and it's very calming. It does actually make you feel much calmer driving a car like that because there isn't a load of noise occurring. You know, it was very calm, very smooth. So I can understand that as a good point, a plus point, really. It was nice. They were nice cars. Both of them were nice.
People often, and you've alluded to this, when you were described as using a car for functional purposes. Isn't that the heart of a lot of the problems, is that we have an emotional connection to our vehicles and that we sometimes don't use them for function. We use them for recreation. We use them for the thrill of driving. We have an emotional bond with our cars, a lot of it.
I had 20 years ago, I had a Rover Tomcat Turbo Coupe with a
Wow.
glass roof that popped out. It was a Targa roof, and it was powerful. It was amazing to drive, and I would quite often just go and get in that car and drive around the lanes in it because I enjoyed the sensation of being in a powerful sportsy type car that, you know, so yes, there is.
But that's exactly what they want us to not do, though, isn't it? Because that's, you know, using fossil fuel for no good reason.
You've absolutely, you know, where I was driving in central London or the outskirts of London, you know, there's no opportunity there at any time to be flashy in your car, really. It really is a functional thing. And I saw other drivers, people hitting the horn when cars weren't moving forward quickly enough at lights and all of those kind of enormous amounts of urgency. So if you're using your car for work, then obviously you're in deadline to get from A to B, and it's a very stressful experience. I guess when I was driving as well, there was no urgency for me to do anything. I was just taking part in the test, and it was all very calm and pleasant. But yeah, there's lots of reasons, I think, for people to drive differently. And apparently, according to Hyundai, I think it's 36,000 different ways of driving a car. So according to the 2,000 people they spoke to. So yeah, I think everybody drives differently and depending on the car.
Well, the big question, I suppose, you've driven an identical car, one petrol, one electric. Your next car will be what, Matt?
We've looked at having electric cars or hybrid cars. There is I think if again the price of electric cars is generally more expensive for the equivalent petrol at the moment. I think if it was an affordable decision, then most certainly that car I drove this week, that's got about a 300-mile range on it. It has rapid charging as well. You know, it's perfectly functional as a car for somebody to use on a day-by-day basis. And I think that if it was price-wise, definitely it would be, you know, an option. If I was going for that model, I'd certainly look at going for the electric. Now, you know, and my personal view is that if you're going to have an electric car, or manufacturers are going to produce electric cars, make them look like the equivalent petrol or diesel, because people have problems with change, and if you have something that looks so wacky and so different, it can be off-putting. So they've done a kind of good thing there, because it's a car that looks, you know, pretty much the same ish as the petrol version, and I think that's a good thing.
There you go. Great to speak to you. Matt Porter of Matt Porter Web Design, testing out the latest electric vehicle, comparing it to the petrol. Matt, have a great Christmas. We'll talk in the new year, my friend.
Thank you. You